The underlying cause of stroke is that there is lack of blood supply to the brain. So anything that would prevent blood supply to the brain,
Stroke.
exactly, stroke,
Wow.
stroke will
Wow.
happen.
I'm being joined in the studio by the ever beautiful Madam Theresa Krentil, who is a registered nurse from Holy Child Catholic Hospital. And tonight, our conversation on lifestyle moment, we are taking a look at the frequent occurrence of stroke amongst the youth. Yes, each and every day we get stories pertaining health amongst Ghanaian youth. And so tonight, let's throw more light on stroke when it comes to the youth. So let me welcome the ever beautiful Theresa into the studios. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
It's a pleasure to have you in our studios. I am super happy. And the conversation on board is one that I'm super interested in. The frequent occurrence of stroke. I know that growing up, you hear stroke when they are 70 years, 80, 90. But now you could get the youth, going down with stroke and all that. First off, let's understand what stroke is all about.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, so when we say stroke,
Can you get close to the microphone for me?
when we
Thank you.
say stroke, it
Right.
basically means that there is lack of blood supply to a part of the brain, if not the whole brain. And the brain controls everything that we do. Like the way I'm speaking, it is being controlled by the brain. If I want to walk, if I want to visit the washroom, everything is centered there. And the blood that goes there supplies the brain with oxygen and nutrients. So the moment there is a short supply of that, then we can say that there is a stroke. It means that the brain will not be able to function as it is supposed to function. So basically, that is stroke.
Wow. And do we have types of strokes?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have two types, and they are all associated with the blood supply, like I said.
Okay.
So we have the ischemic stroke.
Ischemic.
Ischemic. So it means that there is a blockade to in the vessel that supplies the brain or a part of the brain, and it can result from, let's say, a blood clot or infarct, that is accumulation of fat. And the blood vessels, they are like tubes. So when you take let's say a PVC pipe, and it is at a place that as water is passing through, you get like sand also passing through. Gradually, there will be accumulation of that sand, and eventually it gets blocked.
Okay.
If it gets blocked, it means that water cannot pass through it. So if it can't pass through, it means that the brain can't function as it is supposed to. So usually the ischemic stroke takes time to occur because the narrowing or the blockade doesn't happen immediately. Now, the other one is hemorrhagic stroke.
Okay.
That one, it means that some injury has happened to the blood vessel in the brain. So the moment that happens, then there will be accumulation of blood in the brain. Then it causes all symptoms that we are likely to see.
Wow. So
Yeah.
what is this thing people call mild stroke? I hear that all the time.
Yes. So like I said, mild stroke means that wherever the supply is being blocked, it manifests like that. So if it is one part of the brain that is not being supplied with the oxygen and the nutrients, then the individual will exhibit those symptoms. So let's say it affects the part that controls your speech or how you are supposed to talk. Now the person will be there and the person can't talk.
Wow.
Or it affects one part of the body. So you realize that one side, the person can't move, the person can't talk, the face is, like such that you can see.
There's no movement.
Exactly. So if it affects, let's say, only the arm, the person can't move the arm, and you're going to say the person is having mild stroke. So depending on which part of the brain or the area of the brain that is affected, then the symptoms will exhibit. So if it is the whole part, then every other activity will shut down. Then it means it's a full-blown stroke.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, to everything, there are causes. Let's take a look at, the contributing factors to stroke amongst the youth these days.
Okay. So it basically boils down to our lifestyle. And before, I mentioned earlier that when the lumen or the blood vessels gets blocked, so that if you are having to do with activities such as eating high fatty diets, it means that you would have excess in your system, and gradually they will build up in your vessel and it gets blocked. So what do we see these days? The lifestyle that we are engaged in, alcohol, smoking, illicit drugs, and even the way we eat, the kinds of food that we take, they are all contributory factors.
Wow.
And when it comes to the causes of the stroke or the contributory factors, there are some that we say they are modifiable. So like I said, the eating, the smoking and all that, you can quit them or you can do away with them. But others, studies have shown that things like your age, as you age, so ideally, like you had mentioned, it is supposed to be from the older adults, but now it is happening in the youth because of our lifestyle. And then gender, because of, let's say, how our daily activities. So with the gender, it is more predominant in the males at the early stages because of their hard work and even their lifestyle. When you look at it, the smoking and other things, it is more predominant in the males than the females.
Yeah.
So that as we age, then the women are more hit with a stroke.
Okay.
Then you look at race or your ethnicity. It is more prevalent in blacks than in the whites. And then if you have a family history of hypertension or stroke, the probability of you having it is also high. So these
Wow.
are some of the things that contribute to us having stroke.
So that is family history,
Yes.
a lifestyle. These are
Yeah.
the two main causes.
Yeah.
Some people too say kiss. Maybe they will kiss you and you get stroke.
As for those spiritual stuff, they attribute it to almost everything. So
Wow.
yeah.
Now let's also take a look. Okay, there's this particular notion that a lot of people carry. I think we're having this conversation before we got here. Sex. Let's look at the role sex plays when it comes to stroke. Can it cause? Can it reduce? What can it do?
Okay. So, like I said, it all boils down to activity. And sex is an exercise though. So that as you are engaged in the act, certain hormones are released and you need more to do, the act. So that your heart will have to pump, a little bit faster than if, let's say, how I'm sitting. The rate at which my heart is pumping is different from...
You need more stamina.
Exactly. And so that it can cause your heart to pump more than necessary, and it can result in maybe a blood vessel busting or something of that sort, which can result in a stroke. And basically, the underlying cause of stroke is that there is lack of blood supply to the brain. So anything that would prevent blood supply to the brain,
Stroke.
exactly,
Wow.
stroke
Wow.
will happen.
Now let's take a look at some preventive measures, some things we can do to avoid stroke.
Okay. So things that relates to increasing your blood pressure. And one common thing is hypertension.
Okay.
Yes. And hypertension has to do with the heart. Even though the heart is pumping blood to the rest of the body and the brain controls the heart as well. So that if the heart is overworked and is not able to supply the brain, definitely we are likely to have stroke. So then anything that will prevent you from having hypertension, you are 90% gone with preventing stroke. Our lifestyle, smoking. Somebody will say, how can smoking be attributed to stroke or hypertension? There's a substance called nicotine that is in the substances we smoke, like the cigarette and other things, or the high drugs that we use. And these nicotine causes the release of epinephrine and norepinephrine, the things that makes us active. So they end up constricting the blood vessels in our bodies. That makes the heart work more than necessary. You understand? So if we are able to prevent some of these things, it helps us to reduce the rate at which the heart will work, or prevention of the blood vessels being blocked. Now, regular exercise. Exercise is good to maintain us being active. Other than that, the energy, the foods that we take in, they give us energy. But the body has a limit to what it needs.
Right.
So the excess are supposed to be what? Expended. If not expended, it accumulates as fats in our bodies, and then it ends up causing the stroke for us. And alcohol, and then so that you need to check your weight so that you don't become obese. You do away with smoking, alcoholism, and other high drugs that we use. With that, we'll be able to prevent ourselves from having the stroke.
Right. Auntie Ness, okay, so someone has stroke now. How do we go about it?
Okay. So there is this acronym. As I'm sitting here, if my BP is high, you wouldn't know. And things that has to do with stroke, like I said, will happen inside the body. And so what will show that this person is experiencing stroke? So as I sit here with you, all of a sudden you will tell me, oh, I feel dizzy. I'm seeing like two things not clear. Things are becoming double. Yes. Then all of a sudden you can experience severe headache. These are also signs and symptoms of severe hypertension. So that if your BP is not controlled, you are likely to experience this severe headache. And most often than not, it is one-sided. Then it comes to the eye. You are seeing double. Then your mouth, all of a sudden you are not able to talk well. Then you are manifesting physically like that. Your arm, you can't lift it. Your balance is not, you're not able to walk, or even you get up and you are like you are falling down or something. So physically, these will manifest. And so there is an acronym for that. They say BEFAST, BEFAST. Now the B stands for the balance, the coordination. The E has to do with the eye that a person might experience, the double vision. Then the F, the face. The face will drool. The person might not be able to all of a sudden, one part of the face, and then the S for the A for the arm. Yes, you realize that the person is not able to lift the arm, either one side or both. Then the speech comes in. All of a sudden, the person can't talk or is finding it difficult to talk. Then the T is important that if I am with you, or even if you are conscious enough, you note the time that you are experiencing these symptoms, so that when you get to the hospital, you'll be able to give the history for the healthcare professionals to take action.
Wow. I'm sure that with all that we have spoken about this evening when it comes to stroke amongst the youth, preventive measures, the causes of stroke, I'm sure we've all learned a thing or two. Now, Auntie Ness, before you take leave of us, what message have you got to pass on to the youth when it comes to stroke, and then how we should really take good care of ourselves?
Okay, so I would say that anything that has to do with hypertension, we are supposed to make sure that we eliminate it, or if not eliminate it, we reduce it to the barest minimum. And it all stems from our lifestyle. Yes, the lack of exercise. Somebody will tell you, oh, I exercise. I go to the bathroom, I pick my sponge, and I bath from head to toe. That's an exercise. No, you would have to be conscious, a little bit conscious with maybe taking a walk. And it depends on your age as well. You're not saying that if you are more than 50, you should be on the treadmill or be racing here and there. No, something that you can tolerate. And then the alcohol and the smoking, they are all parts of the things that will end up making you susceptible to having the stroke. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen so quickly like the malaria that maybe after a few days you would experience the symptoms. It takes time. Wow. And so usually we don't take them serious, but they are the ones that affect us the most. And when it comes, assuming all of a sudden you're unable to go to work, how do you take care of your family? So that we have to be conscious on some of these things so that we prevent the rate at which people are getting stroke.
Right. Thank you so much, Madam Theresa Krentel. She happens to be a registered general nurse at Holy Child Catholic Hospital. And tonight, our conversation on Lifestyle Moment, we, threw more light on the frequent occurrence of stroke among the youth. And I'm sure you learned a thing or two. So let's take a quick time. When we are back, the One King Show still continues.